Hail, fellows, and welcome to Pen Night Radio, where we slay our personal demons and arm ourselves to write our best content. I am your host, PK, unofficially knighted by a fictional character, which means you do not have to call me Sir. Romance, a feeling of excitement or mystery associated with love. There were an estimated 39 million printed romance novels sold this year in 2024. Wow. Romance novels have been around since the late 18th century, originally written to challenge social norms for the first time ever, women writing for women. They have evolved into a spectrum of books that include vampires and werewolves and all manner of ghastly phantoms and ghouls in their never-ending song. So I guess we should just avoid them, right? Or maybe we could exploit them in some way so we can make a killing. No. I could write a sappy romance novel that I don't actually care about just to see if I can reach new readers. I could stay off the subject entirely and keep my books exceptionally dull on the subject, but I won't do either. Romance is a genre that interests me, especially when it can rope in my overflowing love for theater. So, how do you write romance? PK style? Let's dive into why we're here. Let's take our pens and slay the demons that are dragging us down today. And then we write. Pen Night Radio is brought to you by One True Promotion, an alliance of authors that are dedicated to supporting you, the indie community. And One True Promotion has podcasters and editors and artists as well on board, all kinds of media savvy people, if you will. So definitely go follow One True Promotion. We have got a whole bunch of content that can help you on your journey as a writer. Let me go ahead and plug in my computer here. I just looked at the power and realized that I should probably plug that in. Those of you that are watching on Facebook right now are getting a good show. Those of you that are listening on Spotify are probably hella confused, but crisis averted. We are officially going. Okay. Now, I talked a little bit about this on my live stream that I did recently. If you were around for that, thank you again. But I am writing a romance novel. And it is, well, let me back up a little bit. I'm actually in the process of rebranding. We've got the Calipar, the Children of Arc, which is my fantasy series, urban fantasy series, kind of a futuristic dystopian sort of urban fantasy that I work together with my wife on. And it is something that I was building up to for a very long time, along with my other story about a superhuman, which was called Barker's Rules, which was about a very depraved and evil superhuman that was holding a young girl prisoner. Now, for a while, I came to associate these themes with my brand, but we're in the bit of a rebranding process. I am writing to entertain and to inspire. Anybody who is impacted by a story can take the same steps I did to start writing their own and find their voice. And romance is something that I actually really want to write about. I've wanted to write about for a little while. I have a bit more of a perspective on that now that I've been married for almost 3 years. It'll be our 3-year anniversary on July 24th. So, you know, why I was so passionate about this particular romance novel was for many years of development, just kind of a mystery to me. You know, I just like it. I just like it and I want to do it. But I can reflect now and say that with the rebranding that I'm going through now, I really do want to get into romance. Romance, to me, is the expression of love. And love is at the core of not only every story that I write, but all of our favorite stories are about love in some way. The worst and most heartbreaking tragedies that some of us might enjoy are about broken love or unrequited love, or what happens to a person when the thing they love the most is taken away. Everything connects back to love. The whole meaning of life is love. The whole meaning of my religious beliefs are love. So love and romance is something that I'm actually passionate about getting into. But how do I want to get into it? How do we do it PK style? Am I writing a sappy romance novel? The answer to that First of all, there's nothing wrong with a sappy romance novel. I've seen people reading them. I've seen how they sell. I've seen how they keep people company on the beach and in all the late hours of the night. And I think it is absolutely marvelous that this genre exists, because it can hold up a mirror of this part of life and reflect it back to a person for their personal enjoyment. I think that that is wonderful. But am I writing a sappy romance novel? The answer is a resounding no. I'm writing a pretty dark romance novel, which I think is kind of another cliche. It's kind of a cliche, in my opinion, that a romance will either be sappy or it'll just be super dark and tragic. I'm thinking of, like, what's that movie? What's that movie called? Moulin Rouge. You know, the love that will never die, that just, leaves you feeling like a truck hit you at the end of it. It's just like, oh my goodness gracious. So I guess my first point is that, why is what I'm writing going to be any different? The reason is that romance can be sappy and dark. I've never been a fan of overemphasizing your structure. Or, well, actually, I do kind of emphasize structure. That's the wrong word. I've never been a fan of overemphasizing your style. You know what I mean? The thing I can't stand, this is in superhero territory, the thing that I cannot stand about all of the Zack Snyder, respectfully, superhero films, Man of Steel, Dawn of Justice, even the Justice League Snyder cut that a lot of people seem to like, I cannot stand how it overemphasizes style. We're dark, we're gritty, we're bloody in some places. Everybody looks dirty and they're miserable, and they're giving advice to young children, but they're doing so in a very somber way. And then this is real life. I've never been able to get on board with those movies versus, say, the glory days of Marvel, because I just cannot stand when a product overemphasizes its style, especially a written or a sung product. The Marvel movies, they definitely had a brand. They definitely had a style, is what I'm trying to say. But their style was more of a brand. They experimented with a lot of different, tropes and styles and, different forms of humor and all that. So much so that enough so that the brand you were getting was clear, and it was the selling point. You were buying a ticket for that brand. And then DC came along and it was like, we are going to just be darker than all of that. And it's like, okay, I feel like I'm buying a ticket to witness somebody's style, almost at the cost of a coherent narrative. And it just drove me absolutely nuts. So when I say I'm writing a dark romance novel, to connect it back, I'm not just being dark for the sake of being dark. I actually hate that, despite how dismal Barker's Rules may seem to some people who have read it, even though it, takes place primarily at night, even though day happens too, even though it has a lot of people wearing black, even though it has, Barker is described as having very pale skin and his fingers being like bugs. These are stylistic choices. But the overall emphasis of the book was really meant to be psychological and emotional. It was meant to be about, the emotions the main characters were experiencing and how that drove their actions. And it was supposed to delve into their changing psychology throughout the story. There are scenes that took place in broad daylight in Barker's Rules. There's a scene on the beach, a pretty scary scene on the beach, in my opinion, kind of a very just unhappy, mysterious, and creepy scene. It was in broad daylight. So the point is, I don't overemphasize style. Romance can be sappy and it can be dark. The book that I'm writing, it's called A Wedding at the Garnet Estate. It's about a mysterious person who happens to live near a manor house. A manor house, if you don't know, is a very old. They kind of died out around the 18th century, apart from those that are still standing, of course. I meant that they ceased to be being built. It was a fortified home. It was almost like a small castle or a small mansion that had walls like a castle. You would basically build a wall around your home. You would have all of these luxuries inside. Some of these things really do have beautiful, just unbelievable designs. And you would just live in this luxury home that was well fortified against attack. And you were the lordship over that estate. And They're very fun. You've seen them depicted in media, but this is a story about a manor house that is done for. It was unpopulated centuries ago. It is worn down. It needs renovation. It's rusty. It's covered in cobwebs. Nobody goes there. And but the main character is going there now because he's received an he, she, they. You never really learn who this person is. They have received an invitation to attend a party there, and it turns out not only is the place renovated, but so many masked and disguised individuals have gathered in this one place that they're actually resurrecting a story that took place there. And the story is about two lovers, a farm girl who went to meet the lordship of the estate. And it's an homage to theater. It's an homage to theater, a pretty dark homage to opera and theater. But all of the elements that this show pulls in are elements of the two main characters' relationships. So romance can be sappy and it can be dark. The book is all of those things. I think that, there are some very tender, loving scenes between the two main characters that are fit for any sappy romance novel. And I also think that as the lore develops and we learn more about why this place is being resurrected, we get a lot of dark as well. So I guess what my first point is, if you're going to write romance PK style, you can make it unique and your own by not falling into either trope too much. You're not writing in the style of being sappy. You're not writing in the style of being dark. You're just writing in your style that is unique to this story to accomplish whatever goal you have set for it. Point two, romance is action packed. I find that the best relationships are full of action. Action, remember, we talked about this on a previous episode. Action does not mean punching and kicking or pulling out swords or loading up guns. Action just means that something is happening, that there's an escalation in the pacing of a story, that, things are coming to a head. The antagonist, whoever, whatever that is stopping the main character in some way, and the main character is pushing back, is pushing through, overcoming. That's an action scene. When two lovers are having an argument, that can be the action of a story if it has, consequences that move the story forward. When, I remember in The Pursuit of Happiness, when Will Smith's character is the real person, a true story, is racing towards the bus to get on the bus on time, or else they'll be on the streets all night long. That's action. That's action in a story. So romance is action packed. If you're writing a good romance story, then that it's not just going to be sappy and cute the whole time, because real love isn't like that. People, especially if you're married, people that are doing life together, they go through everything together, whatever life throws at you. If you have a good supportive relationship, that means you are going through it. So romance is full of action. Don't fall into the trap of writing, cute love scenes and then exiting those to talk about the action of the story elsewhere. The action of the story is right there between those two main characters, and whatever is happening can be seamlessly blended into their lives. And It's a Wonderful Life. If you've never seen that, I apologize. Spoiler alert. A lot of people have seen that movie at this point. When Mr. Potter steals George Bailey's check, and he ends up racing around the house searching for that check, thinking that the family's going to be, put out on the streets. That's action. It's happening between the family. There's no villains on screen. The villain already did their job and left, and the action takes place right where it always has, at home, between the family members. So make your romance action packed. Make sure that a lot is happening in the story to make that romance engaging and fun. Point number three, romance is musical. The book that I'm writing is an homage to both romance and theater. It's everything that I've ever loved about love and about theater. Look, I have never left. I've left plenty of movies in the movie theater pretty uninspired. Some of the stuff that Hollywood put out, like Transformers 2, was in 10th grade when I saw that. It was a disaster. I don't understand. When I wasn't in 10th grade. I think I was a senior in high school. I don't know. I'll check the date. The date's not important. But you've seen that, you've seen those movies that are just made to make money, and boy oh boy, have I left some theaters, you know, just wishing I could get my money back somehow. Mindless entertainment, and sometimes it's so mindless it's not even entertaining to me. But when I go to any play, community theater, Broadway, anything else, whenever somebody puts their heart and soul into putting on a production like that, I have literally never left the theater house uninspired. I'm a fan of Les Mis, Phantom of the Opera, Wicked, Hamilton, all the stuff you've heard of, some stuff that you haven't heard of, like Bible plays such as Jesus and David and Moses. I mean, we can even throw in a couple animated musical films in there too. You know, certain old DreamWorks or Disney productions really used to have that effect too. I've just never walked away uninspired. The power of music and storytelling, the power of animation, of stage lighting, of costuming and blocking. I mean, it's marvelous. These are age-old arts that were practiced in ancient Greece, some of them, and it's amazing that they still exist today, despite all of our technological advancement. There's always a place for acting in theater, and I've never left a play uninspired. So the romance that I'm writing is an homage to love. It is also an homage to song and theater and arts of all forms, because I believe those things go together. And if you believe those things go together too, then this is the book for you. Look, love is a song. That sounds sappy, but it's true. It's a song that goes on and on and on. Every person who's born to this world wants love deep down. They want love. They want, you know, intimacy. They want not everybody wants. Well, let me define intimacy. Intimacy can be many things. It can be physical. It can be emotional. It can be mental. There's a whole lot of different forms of intimacy. So when I say everybody wants intimacy, I really am thinking, you know, outwardly of everyone. Define it as you will. We all want that. And because of that, there will always be stories that glorify it, that raise it up and try to communicate its importance back to us. So this is a genre that is everlasting. And if you're writing it, you should have some respect for that. You know, write it as if it's something that should be taken seriously, that should be musical, that should be full of action, that can be sappy, can be dark, can be quirky and dysfunctional, and a whole lot of other things. However you've experienced it, or you know it's been experienced for real. Writing romance, PK style, is basically writing it like any other action thriller or drama that you would otherwise write. It's making it as good as the best RPG video game you just played, for how it immersed you in the story and sold you a character and took you on adventures. Got news for you. Romance can immerse you, challenge you, introduce you to a lot of action, and take you on adventures. So if you're thinking, how do I write romance? Follow those steps. Decide on a style, a unique style. Your voice is your own. You can be sappy, you can be dark, you can be quirky. Fill it up with action. Make it a good song. Make it musical. Go out and see a play sometime and hear how people sing back to each other, and come back and tell me if you figured out how you want a certain dialogue scene to go. And those are my quick tips for writing romance. Thank you for listening to my book pitch. Thank you for, it really wasn't a pitch. I just wanted to contextualize what kind of story I was writing, to understand what my opinions about romance writing are. If that's interesting to you, I encourage you to keep following the podcast, because there will be more and more updates as that book enters its beta season and heads for agents who will hopefully recommend it to a traditional publishing house. That's it for our first segment. Those are my tips on romance writing. What are yours? Write them in the comment section. Give us some, I tried to keep it brief, down to 20 minutes, but give us some of yours. What are your tips for romance writing? PKR wants to hear your thoughts. We want to talk to you about it. We want to engage you with this podcast. So please share the podcast and tell us what you're thinking. So we will be back in just a minute with our next segment. are back for part two. Okay, so our second segment for today's Pen Night Radio is, you guessed it, This Week in Publishing. It's the segment where I share news from the publishing world, and this is an important one. So ears open, folks. All right, first of all, as you know, I am subscribed to Publishers Weekly, thanks to good old Andrew, and Publishers Lunch comes to me every week in the mail. This Tuesday, July 9th, that was today. I forgot what day it was for a minute, the date of recording. This Tuesday, July 9th, this was published. Here are the books that are in the news right now. Viola Davis and James Patterson's novel, set in the rural South, about a dynamic female judge on the brink of a decision with seismic repercussions that puts her career, principles, and ultimately her life at stake. I think it is called Little Brown. Psychologist and co-founder of the adult ADHD treatment and research program, I have ADHD, at UPenn, Russell Ramsey, PhD, Unreliable, diving into the overlooked difficulties of living with ADHD as an adult and presenting a new approach to treatment to Avery in a major deal at auction. That sounds good. Journalist Carlos Barragan's The Yahoo Boys, a work of reportage about the lives of 4 Nigerian romance scammers, there's our word of the day, romance, and the Lagos neighborhood they call home, pitched as in the vein of Behind the Beautiful Forevers to Farah Strauss in Preempt. So that has been pitched. It is not yet available. But these are the books that are going to be coming at you soon. Author of 50 Words for Rain, Asha Lemmy's Ocean Thousand, Mountain Thousand, a follow-up to her debut, a multi-generational family saga following the story of an illegitimate heir, the daughter of a disgraced Japanese aristocrat and a Black G, as she navigates her new role as family matriarch, wife, and mother, including the dark truths about the seedier side of her family business, as well as with her tortured past, which comes crashing onto her doorstep, forcing her to make monumental choices, is being pitched to Dutton right now. So you can look out for Ocean Thousand, Mountain Thousand. That'll be coming to shelves soon as well. And this was the last one. National Endowment for the Arts recipient Karen Palmer's She's Under Here, a love story, a horror story, a reckoning. See that? Sappy, dark, reckoning. I like it. About the author's decision to disappear with her new husband and 2 small children, DIY witness protection, when living in fear of her dangerous ex-husband became untenable, examining the lines between victim and perpetrator, desire and regret, the myriad complicated choices of a woman with no good options, and how living under a false identity ultimately left the author to find herself. It's being pitched to Algonquin. So those are the books that are going to be appearing in the papers pretty soon. If you're interested in that, make a little note of that. Be ready when it comes out. Okay, the thing I really want to talk to you about, though, if you're here and you're pen knights and you are trying to slay those demons that are holding you back and turn that blank page into a full page, but you're also thinking about, well, I would write, but I don't know how I would market. It seems like a full-time job. I'm not sure I want to do all that stuff. Hey, I'm with you. Okay, so Brian Cohen is a fellow who has a very, very prestigious organization that runs Author Ad School. If you're a self-published author, or any kind of author really, and you want your work to be seen on vendors such as Amazon, yes, you can put your work on Amazon, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people scrolling through Amazon will see it. That job belongs to ads, and you design the ads. You design the ads using Amazon's ad service. And because that can be, pretty confusing and the results inconclusive if you don't know what you're doing, Brian Cohen offers Author Ad School. He has done this for many years. Andrew at One True Promotion is who plugged us into it originally. But the thing is, this year, Brian Cohen is doing Author Ad School for free. So it is free to enroll in right now. If you want to enroll while you are listening, just go to Author Ad School on on Google. I couldn't come up with Google, Yahoo, Bing, whatever you use. You can go in and type it in right now, Author Ad School, and it'll come right up. Now, what are the specifics? Okay, so here's the pitch. How do you grow your book sales with a jam-packed schedule? A clear process and accountability from experts. These are the things that you will get from Author Ad School. Author Ad School has helped over 100 authors have their first $1,000 month of royalties. But we wanted to step it up here in 2024. That's why we've upgraded to Author Ad School Unlimited. With daily writing accountability rooms, 5 weekly live sessions with our experts, and twice a month chats with Ad School founder Brian Cohen, we think we've got just what you need to work our program around your schedule. And for a limited time only, you can commit for as little as 3 months with a lower upfront cost. It's just our little way of trying to give you more for less money. Join Ad School for 3, 6, or 12 months below and start moving towards self-publishing success today. So, the link is bestpageforward.net, learn.bestpageforward.net, learn.bestpageforward.net/ad-school-jul-2024. That is where you can find the link to apply. Folks, I want to tell you that I never had anybody click I tried ads on my own before I did Author Ad School. If you publish on KDP and you have an Amazon Author Central account, you'll see that they have an ad service, but I was never any good at it. I didn't know how to pick keywords. I didn't know how much money to put up for my daily ads that wouldn't hurt my bank too much. I just didn't know. But Brian Cohen's course basically taught me everything. Even conversations with Andrew after he attended the course were enough to get me going in the right direction. And hundreds of people clicked my ads. Hundreds of people clicked my ads. The reports came back and they showed me that my budget was spent. No money comes out if you don't get any ad clicks, but my budget was absolutely spent for my ad campaigns. And I'm about to start another one, but I'm not going to do it until I reap the benefits of this free Author Ad School subscription, which I just can't emphasize this enough, folks. It's an opportunity you just don't get. If you're interested in becoming an author, or you're an author and you're trying to market better and you're listening to this episode now, it'll be Saturday when you're hearing it, join Author Ad School. Right now, it's free, and that means that it is available to you to help you take your next step at turning that blank page into a full page and making sure that once that dream is made real, you secure the sale. Alrighty, well, that is Pen Night Radio for today. This was a short one, but I think I gave you everything you need to know. If you are working on writing romance, go ahead and just make it your own. That's the bottom line here at Pen Night Radio. Just make it your own. Use some tools and skills and tactics to do so. And if you are looking to sell a book that hasn't been selling too well, take the Author Ad School Unlimited Challenge and see what that does for you. Well, folks, Pen Night Radio is dedicated to bringing you quality content every week. We were 2 weeks off for my vacation, but we are back, and we will be back every Saturday for the rest of summer. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. Stay in touch with us. Send us your questions or send us topics that you want to hear about. So far, we've just been guessing at what topics you might be struggling with on your author journey this particular week. But if you are struggling with one that you would love covered next week, let's hear it. Send it to me at the Calipar Fans or Pen Night Radio or to Alec Pangia directly, and we will make sure that we cover that topic. And that's pretty much all I got for you today. So with that, Knights, I love you, and write on.